Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Anupama, Professor at Department of Economics, Punjabi University, Patiala. I am here talking on behalf of Dr. Falendra Kumar Sudan, Professor, Department of Economics, University of Jammu. I am going to talk about the module Urban Planning for Mitigation and Adaptation from Demography of Climate Adaptation. So students, we are going to discuss about the challenges of urban governance and planning for climate mitigation and adaptation. In the recent past, two major activities were initiated to mitigate climate change in the context of urban planning. The first activity involves mobilizing individual cities and municipal networks to action for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. The second activity involves transnational municipal networks focusing on megacities in the urban climate change agenda. Both mitigation and adaptation are considered significant in municipal climate policy. The new evidence on local climate policy and governance was mainly conducted in the mid-90s. However, such evidence has tended to focus on mitigation and individual case studies from cities in Australia, Canada, Europe, and the United States. These cities have been first movers on the issue of climate change and are termed as leaders. There has been little evidence on the particular challenges for megacities in terms of carbon emissions and the impacts of climate change. There has been little evidence on how climate change is being addressed in ordinary cities across the world. Therefore, understanding environmental issues of today's developing cities is particularly challenging due to poverty, industrial pollution, consumption, and lifestyle related issues. So with this background, this module aims to understand the challenges of urban governance and planning, to assess urban built environment in the context of climate change policy, and to present the lessons learned from urban planning for climate mitigation and adaptation. Let us discuss the challenges of urban governance and planning. The urban governance and planning is confronted with numerous climate change challenges in the terms of both mitigation and adaptation. First of all, we will examine the mitigating climate change. The urban policy and research has been major issues of climate change mitigation, with main focus on the reduction of GHG emissions from urban activities. Cities are the centers of economic and social activity. According to the International Energy Agency, that is IEA, cities may be the location for approximately 70% of energy-related carbon dioxide emissions. The Stern Review suggests that by some estimates, cities account for 78% of carbon emissions from human activities. The critics implicitly argue that all cities are equally culpable and it is cities, rather than those that live in them, are responsible for greenhouse gas emissions. In the context of increasingly urbanization and emissions producing activities concentrated in cities, the main issue is how municipal authorities and other actors might intervene to reduce their impact. Municipalities have direct role in GHG emissions through energy supply and management, transport, land use planning,
and waste management. Municipal emissions account for only a small percentage of the overall greenhouse gas emissions from a city. In the context of climate change, municipalities can focus on activities such as climate change and renewable energy target setting, energy efficiency incentive programs, educational efforts, green local government procurement standards, public transportation policies, public-private partnership agreements with local businesses, and tree planting. Some municipalities have developed a systematic approach to climate policy by developing inventories of greenhouse gas emissions for determining emissions reduction targets, climate change action plans, and various implementation plans. Despite the range of greenhouse gas emissions reduction activities, municipalities' attention remains fixed on issues of energy demand reduction. There are also issues related to governance capacity to regulate the greenhouse gas emissions and to provide services and infrastructure for enabling action to take place. Various factors influencing policy framing and building governance capacity are access to additional sources of finance, municipal competencies, the governance framework established, and the support offered by transnational networks. However, these factors vary in their significance in relation to the different modes of governance. Municipal competencies are critical to the regulating and provision modes. The sources of additional finance and involvement with transnational networks are critical in terms of an enabling mode of climate governance. Adapting to climate change. Adaptation policy to deal with unavoidable impacts of climate change is important, but this has so far been underemphasized at the urban level around the world. The economic cost of adapting to the effects of climate change will be noteworthy. Building new infrastructure and building resilient to climate change is estimated to cost around $15 to $150 billion a year in Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development countries alone. Adaptation tackles the consequences of climate change like heavy rainfalls, flooding, or extreme temperatures, which are already affecting societies. As a result, the benefits from urban adaptation can be direct for a city. Adaptation provides many long-run local benefits. Climate adaptation and mitigation are increasingly being reframed as economic opportunities.
There are important trade-offs between adaptation and mitigation. Some mitigation options may worsen urban vulnerability to climate change. For example, increasing urban density may contribute to reducing emissions from transport. This will have negative implications for adaptation, such as intensifying the urban heat island effect and posing problems for urban drainage. Therefore, understanding the synergies, conflicts, and trade-offs between mitigation and adaptation measures would enable more integrated and effective urban climate policy. However, adaptation-specific challenges make urban governance and planning more challenging.
There is lack of data and expertise at the local level to deal with adaptation and mitigation simultaneously. The scientific estimation of social and economic impacts of climate change and implications of different measures of climate change adaptation in cities is widely lacking. There is also lack of municipal capacity to reach the most vulnerable populations in cities who tend to live outside the official jurisdictions of municipalities. They are ill served by urban infrastructures and face discrimination and exclusion. The municipalities have lacked the resources to fund projects, to engage partners, and to involve communities in responses to climate change. There is a lack of coordination between departments at the municipal level and a strong dependence of local government on the national policies and actions. There are significant differences between the drivers and challenges for adaptation and mitigation at the urban level. Leadership is critical for municipal action on mitigation. There is a need for different leadership with regard to mitigation and adaptation. Municipal leaders can create important political capital on the issue of mitigation. Addressing adaptation requires leadership based on inclusive or good governance, foresight, and the willingness to develop a safety net for citizens, especially for the urban poor. In both adaptation and mitigation, the access to resources and investment is crucial. Municipalities have often an infrastructure deficit which greatly exacerbates the challenge of adapting to climate change. Adaptation is often a minor concern on the political agenda. Adaptation is essential to meet the challenges of basic needs and everyday survival, but there is limited implementation of adaptation policies. Rather, focus is more on climate mitigation. Adapting to climate change is a critical factor as contests emerge about how and for whom climate change adaptation should take place.
Let us discuss about urban built environment and climate change policy. The built environment comprises of domestic, commercial, and public buildings. It is a significant contributor to global greenhouse gas emissions. 1/3 of the final energy is consumed by the building sector in most of the countries. It also absorbs an even more major share of electricity. Electricity use in commercial buildings is high in Japan, the United States, and some of the wealthier countries in the global south. Energy consumption by the building sector, both in the industrialized countries and the global south, is a major concern. Both the industrialized nations and the global south have initiated policies to reduce energy consumption in buildings. These policies can be grouped into three categories. Number one, economic incentives such as taxes or energy pricing, regulatory requirements such as codes or standards, or information programs such as energy awareness campaigns or energy audits. The main focus of action with respect to climate change and the built environment has been on issues of mitigation. But the challenges posed by climate adaptation are increasingly being recognized. Such challenges are usually framed in terms of resilient buildings. One such example is buildings considered to recover quickly from the impact of flooding through guaranteeing that essential services, that is power, water, and sanitation, experience minimal disruption, such as by placing power sockets above likely flooding levels
Achieving adaptation to climate change in the built environment is likely to involve a combination of regulation, financial incentives, information, and voluntary approaches. Self governance. Self governance has been central to municipal efforts to address climate change, particularly in cities of the global north. There has been emphasis to increase the energy efficiency of municipal operations in the sector of the built environment. In this context, following initiatives are noteworthy. These are increasing energy efficiency within the municipality by 12% by 2010 in Cape Town, reducing air conditioning hours and bulbs in government buildings since 2003 in Yogyakarta, energy efficiency improvements in government buildings by 2010 in Beijing, and energy saving behavior among municipal staff members by the promise of a 0.5% performance related pay increase if environmental targets are met in Melbourne. Therefore, climate change issues are also being mainstreamed within the local authority. In Delhi, the efforts in energy conservation have been primarily determined by power shortages rather than climate change, which includes the banning of luminous lighting in government buildings and a compulsory requirement for new government buildings to adopt green building technology, including efficient lighting, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and water usage. Regulation. In different countries, the regulatory mode of governing climate change is well known in the built environment. Energy standards for buildings range from intended guidelines to compulsory requirements. The mandatory standards are surrounded in structures of formal regulation. The voluntary standards provide a form of soft regulation, often used to direct changes in practice. Such standards are usually set at a regional or national level. Australia, China, and Korea have mandatory standards for residential and commercial buildings. Mexico has mandatory standards for non-residential buildings. India, Indonesia, and South Africa have voluntary standards for non-residential buildings. There are currently no standards in place in Brazil. Hong Kong, SAR China has been in a position to implement their own building energy standards. The voluntary Hong Kong Energy Efficiency Registration Scheme for buildings was established to promote the application of a comprehensive set of building energy codes for building energy services and setting efficiency standards for lighting, air conditioning, electrical, elevator, and escalator installations. Despite the prevalence of building energy standards, their effectiveness varies greatly from country to country. The effectiveness of energy standards may be particularly low in developing countries. In developed countries, the estimated savings from energy codes range from 15 to 16% in United States to 60% in some countries of the European Union. The national energy standards were set at a level to avoid worst practice rather than to encourage the best practices. It is one of the major problems with the national energy standards. In Melbourne, a compulsory energy performance requirement of 4.5 stars for office developments greater than 2,500 square meters has been introduced. In New Delhi, Solar water heating systems have been made compulsory in certain types of buildings, including government offices, hospitals, educational institutions, and the hospitality sector, and the use of incandescent bulbs in all new and existing government establishments has been banned. In Sao Paulo, if the buildings have more than 3 bathrooms, whether they are homes, apartments, trade, services, or industrial buildings, the use of solar water heating systems is compulsory. Mexico City has devised a new clean building label for all new construction required as part of its Plan Verde. Thus, it is clear that even where direct municipal competencies for establishing building standards may be missing, local governments are motivated to go beyond standard practice to supplement the energy performance of the built environment.
Provisioning. Compared with a ruling mode of governance, the governance through provisioning has been limited with respect to built environment. Only municipal authority in Mexico City is involved in directly providing energy efficient infrastructures and services. The municipality is installing 30,000 square meters of green roofs each year. It is also launching a new social housing model that integrates green areas, public spaces, and environmental design. Although formulated as improvement strategies, these moves address adaptation and facilitate the residents to better cope with extreme temperatures indoors, especially in housing that lacks heating or cooling devices or for residents with limited income. The lack of such services elsewhere is due to lack of municipalities adopting this role. Therefore, municipal governments have a limited role in the provisioning of built environments in other cities. They are engaged in other means of providing low energy services, including enabling and partnership approaches.
Enabling. The information, reward, and recognition are key means through which municipal governments can enable action by private sector organizations and individuals. The government of Hong Kong SAR China has been involved with a program to promote energy efficiency in homes through cutting the demand for cooling by keeping indoor environments at 25.5 degrees Celsius. An environmental efficiency program, Eco Housing Program, has been introduced in Mumbai in residential buildings. It is a voluntary building certification program for new and existing housing. A new scheme for providing incentives to the developers as well as consumers has been proposed in Mumbai. Under the scheme, rebates in the form of reduced development charges and assessment taxes have been approved by Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai. Therefore, financial incentives are also an important element of enabling action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from the built environment. In case of Delhi, the state government has established an energy efficiency and renewable energy management center, which provides partial finance to domestic users for the installation of solar water heating systems. In Seoul, incentives are offered to buildings with high levels of energy efficiency. In Melbourne, a reward program to reduce energy, water use, and avoid waste in hotels has been introduced with significant savings of greenhouse gas emissions. Therefore, in addition to providing information and financial incentives, starting the right frameworks involving communities and businesses can act on climate change. Partnership. In order to act on climate change and as well as enabling others in cities, partnership and private sector initiatives are important. In Beijing, non governmental organizations, that is NGOs, have been playing important role in creating awareness about the possibilities of behavioral change for reducing greenhouse gas emissions from the built environment through a joint campaign to maintain a 26 degree Celsius room temperature led by Friends of Nature Beijing. Hong Kong SAR China drew up a set of guidelines to account for and report on greenhouse gas emissions and removals for buildings, whether commercial, residential, or institutional purpose in Hong Kong. These strategies will identify areas which are important for energy efficiency improvement as a part of voluntary programs to reduce emissions arising from buildings. Since its introduction, 37 institutions have signed up as carbon audit green partners, including private corporations, public hospitals, and universities. In Mumbai, Raheja Corporation, one of the biggest real estate developers in India, signed the first agreement with Johnson Controls to retrofit the largest mall in Mumbai in the C40 network with funding provided through the Clinton Climate Initiative. In Cape Town also, the non-governmental actors are playing significant role in addressing climate change in the built environment at the municipal level. The Quasar Low Income Housing Upgrade is the first African project under the Clean Development Mechanism, which attained the first gold standard status in the world. There will be use of solar water heaters, efficient lamps, and insulated ceilings in 2,300 existing low-income housing in Khalisha, Cape Town up to 2030. These retrofits are expected to reduce about 2.85 tons of carbon dioxide per thousand per year, and the revenue collected from the selling of emissions credit will be diverted back to setting community-owned energy services and micro-enterprises, which in turn create local employment.
So let us talk about some lessons. There is evidence of a new wave of urban climate change response in cities of both developed and developing countries. The more emphasis remains on mitigation in climate change policy rather than adaptation. The action on climate adaptation has remained marginal. The municipalities are organizing multiple modes of governing climate change with more stress on regulation and provision. With respect to the built environment, urban responses to climate change are being undertaken by other stakeholders. The concern for energy efficiency dominates in urban climate actions. The key factors shaping responses to mitigation are as follows. There should be effective policy entrepreneurs. There should be municipal competencies in energy and planning policies. There should be the access to additional financial resources and flexibility in their deployment.
There is a need of an enabling policy framework at national and regional levels. There is a need of the fit between jurisdictional areas and problem boundaries. There should be the ability to engage partners to achieve action beyond the municipality. There is a need of the knowledge and resource capacity as well as the political support generated by networks and partnerships. And there should be the reframing of climate change as an issue of local importance and the absence of conflict between addressing climate change and other local priorities. In terms of adaptation, the key factors are discussed as follows. There is a need of availability of adequate data and information about local impacts from climate change. There is a need of good governance. There is a need to access to financial and human resources provided by the national government or international donors. There should be coordination of policies and measures across both local agencies and levels of government. There should be empowerment and training of civil societies to help strengthen service provision, environmental management, and the livelihoods of the most vulnerable people. And there is a need of nurturing a sense of readiness for disaster emergency.
So students, let us sum up what we have learned from this module. To sum up, we can say that it is clear that even where governance capacity exists, climate change adaptation remains insignificant. This could be attributed to relative lack of action by worldwide networks on climate adaptation today, a lack of opportunities for leadership, limited knowledge of base decisions, a lack of resources for the provision and maintenance of infrastructure systems, and an absence of issue framing that has linked adaptation to pressing urban social, economic, and environmental issues, with the result that adaptation has limited support on a local scale. Hence, a few lessons which can be learned from this discussion are: number one, energy conservation is an important local hook for municipal action on climate change. Number two, municipal governments have the capacity to go ahead of national building standards and to adopt additional means of variable energy use in the built environment. Forms of soft regulation can be effective in this regard. Number three, municipal governments have various means of facilitating action by stakeholders and communities in reducing energy use in the built environment through the provision of information, recognition, and award for achievement. Number four, stakeholders outside local government are important drivers of action, especially in the case of commercial built environment. The possibility is seen for further partnership work and action on climate change mitigation and adaptation in the absence of significant municipal capacity for climate governance. That's all with this lecture. I hope you must have enjoyed it. Thank you.